Ethereum has just undergone one of the most monumental moments in finance and tech, successfully switching from a proof of work to a proof of stake blockchain in the merge. Today, we're going to discuss the implications of this, what this means for the future of tech and the narrative around crypto, and how you can profit on this potentially. Hey guys, Sheldon Evans here, welcome back. Or if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on all of those bell notifications. So on my display right now, I have ultrasound.money, and you can see that Ethereum is officially a deflationary asset, meaning that there's less Ethereum coming into existence right now, making it one of the most sound forms of money that we have on the planet right now. And I'm also proud to announce that my team and I successfully launched the first NFT collection on the Ethereum proof of stake blockchain. We minted in the second block. You can see the transaction over here. This collection will be 99.9% more energy efficient than any other NFT collection minted before this, of course, since we are on the proof of stake blockchain. If you guys do want to go see this, you can check it out on OpenSea right now. The rest of the collection will be airdropped for free later on today to holders of the Nostalgia Key, which is our private or the Genesis community, and you will get one of these for free. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out. This is the start of the countdown before the full collection gets released, so you will see the metadata update and the art update over the next few days. If you haven't yet, like I said, go check it out on our website, bloom.xyz. As I mentioned, this is a very strong value of ours, being sustainable and being environmentally friendly, and part of this narrative that is leading to a greener future, which is of course very much in line with the goals of Ethereum and why we chose to launch on Ethereum now. Of course, if you remember correctly, one of the major criticisms around blockchain and cryptocurrency is the environmental impact that it has. And with this switch to proof of stake, it's going to make the blockchain, as I said, 99.98% more energy efficient, bringing the world's energy usage down by 0.2%. So there's a major global impact that this has. Now, what are the implications of this, and why does this align with the brand as well? Well, of course, as I mentioned, we are planning to become a sustainable lifestyle brand that is Web3 native, meaning that the holders of this NFT hold the manuscript to this brand as we move forward. If you want to follow along with that journey, please go ahead and follow us on Twitter and stick around for what's to come. Now, let's talk about the death of this $19 billion mining industry. As you know, Ethereum miners are now left with hardware that they are no longer able to use to mine the Ethereum blockchain and validate transactions. Only those who have a large stake or a large share in the network are now able to validate and secure the network. Now, the issue with this is that there's tons of this hardware on the market that these users or these miners are no longer able to use for anything else. Although this does present some opportunities for these miners, such as switching over to Ethereum Classic, which, if you guys remember, this was actually the original fork of the Ethereum blockchain. So Ethereum Classic was the first blockchain, and Ethereum, which we have today, is the Ethereum that we're using right now that was the result of a fork or hard fork back in the day. Now, as you can see, the hash rate of this has skyrocketed as miners are looking for a place to move their mining power right now to try and make a profit with all the equipment that they have. Now, there are a few other coins as well that people are looking into right now to mine, but at the end of the day, most of this is just used as a way to find miners a way to make more money. Now, I would be kind of annoyed myself if I was a miner and I had all of this equipment that was basically going to waste right now, and there aren't really that many opportunities. As I mentioned, you can't simply move over to Bitcoin and start mining Bitcoin because there's two different mining systems. It's ASIC and GPU mining. But there are some positive implications to this, such as being able to get a graphics card now. As you guys know, with the supply chain issues that we've had in the past 2 years, with the pandemic and everything, we've seen that the graphics card industry has skyrocketed due to the supply chain issues with the silicon chips, as well as, of course, the demand for these GPU miners or for these graphics cards, people using to mine cryptocurrency and it making a profit for them. So people who actively want to play games and use GPUs haven't really been able to do that because the price of them are so high. Although you might be thinking that graphics cards might decline rapidly right now and the shares in those companies such as Nvidia might decline as well, I don't quite believe that, as I do believe into the future we're going to be having a huge online metaverse, as I've spoken about many times on this channel. When we do have a full digital immersive experience, a lot of that mining or a lot of that graphics power at least is going to be outsourced to somewhere, and that graphics power has to come from somewhere. So the demand for that GPU or that GPU power is going to come from somewhere, whether it's streamed or it comes from your individual computer. There's going to be a need for it. So I do believe that GPUs and these GPU industries are still a huge industry, and I believe it will continue to expand as we move into the future. Now, it really does depend what happens in the future, whether this becomes the dominant chain or not. It's obviously not going to be the dominant chain. The dominant chain is going to be the proof of stake blockchain for Ethereum, purely based on the major narratives that it is and where the economic value lies. Now, when I spoke about at the beginning of this video what the social impacts of this are, I'll talk about this in a second, as that is the major or the final boss that we have for the Ethereum network. And the reason that I say this is that Ethereum merge clears a path for ESG-minded corporate investors. And the reason being is that, as I said, one of the major negative effects of cryptocurrency is that it has an effect on the environment, at least a negative effect on the environment. And it makes Ethereum more attractive to institutional investors now, since it is now an environmentally friendly cryptocurrency, unlike Bitcoin. Now, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum have very different use cases here. Bitcoin is used as a store of value, it is the money of the internet, and Ethereum is the dApp, or the social layer, or the transactional layer of the internet, the settlement layer. So I do believe that there are completely different use cases for both Ethereum and Bitcoin, and there's value in each of them. And going forward, it just depends on sort of like where that value comes from. And the reason that I say that there might be huge institutional interest in Ethereum right now is not purely based on the fact that institutions are going to come into the space and start betting big on Ethereum, because it's still a speculative asset at that point. What I mean, though, is it changes the scalability narrative of Ethereum. Now, the merge is not meant to make Ethereum more scalable, as in more transactions per second or more people transacting on the network. Essentially, what I'm saying by scalability is that it allows it to become a global settlement layer that is adopted by more people and more institutions and more networks. So the more participants we have in the network, the better it is for the network overall, although there is some issues to this. As I mentioned, one of the major issues with this is the social impact, or the social implications and understanding of what Ethereum is. As we've moved to proof of stake, the centralization of Ethereum has actually gone up, since there are large stakeholders in Ethereum now that control a large portion of the validation of those transactions, such as Coinbase, such as Whales, such as Kraken, and of course Lido, one of the largest liquid staking platforms there is, that you can stake your Ethereum and a few different assets on as well, that allow you to deposit or less than 32 Ethereum and be able to stake and validate on the Ethereum network. Now, the issue with this, of course, is that it's no longer as censorship resistant as many people might say, since these validators may be able to change things on the network to work in their favor. For example, one of the issues with this is, of course, sandwiching transactions. So let's say I put in a transaction of $100 million. Of course, that transaction is so big that it's going to move the price of Ethereum up. Now, if you're controlling the network and you're one of these validators, you see that transaction come in, and it's your responsibility to put that transaction into the blocks. You could see this transaction and know that it's going to move the price of Ethereum up, so you sandwich and you beat them to it, you front run them to it. You see the transaction coming, you put another transaction in before them, your transaction goes in, their transaction goes in, pushes the price of Ethereum up, and you sell. So there's very many opportunities here for possible manipulation, as well as even censorship from government. As I mentioned, this sort of front-running process is not necessarily going to be happening by whales like Coinbase or Kraken or these exchanges, since it is quite frowned upon. But at the same time, these shareholders or stakeholders might be controlled by governments, as governments are required, or they are regulated entities at least, and governments may be able to push them or twist their arm in a certain direction based on what they want the narrative to become. Since Bitcoin is completely decentralized, it's unlikely that this will happen. There's no central entity controlling Bitcoin. It's completely decentralized, but there is the Ethereum Foundation, and now there are these large stakeholders or shareholders in Ethereum that may potentially lead to a problem in the future, depending on how this goes. And this is why Sassel, or Anthony Sassano, says that the next big boss of Ethereum, or the cryptocurrency network as a whole at least, is the nation state and how that affects everything. But I do believe that this positivity that we have for the energy consumption, or how the decrease in energy consumption is on Ethereum, might actually provide a more positive narrative around this, and maybe even attract those institutions to come into the space and move it forward. Now, the implications with this around Bitcoin and Ethereum is completely unknown right now. Of course, we can only wait as time goes by. This doesn't necessarily mean that Ethereum's immediately going to skyrocket in price, as the demand is higher than the supply right now. It has to reach equilibrium at one point eventually, whether that's sooner or later, we aren't really sure. Of course, this relies on many different macroeconomic factors right now, and how this might affect as the world goes forward. As you guys know, if you watched my most recent video, I spoke about the recession, and I covered this in that video. I hope you guys liked that video. If you made it all the way to the end, please comment down below. We've merged, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.